Hello everyone, MockRock here, and welcome back to the Signature Move tier list, where we dive into the history of an iconic video game technique, break it apart in a series of trials, and finally, stack it up against the competition. The voters have spoken, and the contender this time around will be Kirby's Inhale. First seen in the character's 1992 debut title Kirby's Dream Land, the Happy Puffball has leaned on the ability ever since during his life of eating candy, drifting through the breeze, and slaying eldritch gods. Outside of his own quests, Inhale is also one of the most well-known abilities in every installment of the Super Smash Bros. Series. Some might even say notorious, but will that include me at the end of this video? Let's begin. Cool sponsor today. I think a lot of you will really like this one. This video is brought to you by Neuralis, the robot set to crush humanity at Super Smash Bros. It's sparred with the best of the best. And me. And while Neuralis certainly lives up to its reputation, I did get my time to shine. And so can you. Several times per week, you can participate in the Beat the Robot Challenge over on twitch.tv/Neuralis. Defeat Neuralis in a first to 3 and win a $25 gift card to Amazon or the gaming platform of your choice. It won't be easy, but Neuralis has paid out hundreds to the Smash community and is 100% free to challenge, so drop right in. And afterwards, make sure to stop by their YouTube channel to see if you made the highlight reel. Links to both channels are in the description, so be sure to subscribe if you like what you see. Thank you for the games, Neuralis, as well as for supporting the channel. As before, we'll be exploring Kirby's Inhale throughout the video game world and evaluating it on power, utility, synergy, style, and design. These scores will place it in either A, B, or C tier, with further promotions or demotions into S and F tier done on a case-by-case basis. To avoid ambiguity, Inhale in this video will refer to both the ability itself, as well as any powers Kirby gains as a direct result of using it on screen. This entry into the Signature Move tier list was decided on by my supporters, and if you'd like to make your voice heard both for the next episode of this series as well as for the next Smash archetype analysis, both polls are currently live on my Discord server, available to all patrons, YouTube members, and Twitch subscribers. Alright, let's kick things off. Kirby's Inhale is an inherently powerful technique in his home series, even in its base form, as a large, persistent hitbox that can capture any moderately sized enemy in his path before either consuming them or spitting them out as a high-speed, high-range projectile, plus some occasional other possibilities, like in the Crystal Shards, where you can carry your victim on your back. This also applies to plenty of environmental hazards, a core part of his strategy against many bosses, and Inhale can often be used as a lingering frontal shield in these scenarios. Inhale isn't infallible, as in some instances Kirby gets exhausted after prolonged use or is even denied the ability entirely, such as when he's underwater, is already inflated, or throughout the entirety of games where he's in an alternate form, such as Kirby's Epic Yarn. There are also certain large or stubborn enemies that Inhale can't directly affect, and others that will damage Kirby for attempting it, but overall, the primary act of inhaling is still extraordinarily useful. And of course, we can't forget about the Super Inhale, or Hypernova, upgraded versions of the traditional move that can affect considerably larger targets. But let's be honest. What we're actually here for are the copy abilities. Ever since his second adventure, Kirby has had the ability to absorb many enemies' powers and use them for his own benefit, and these tend to be very strong more often than not. You want massive, persistent hitboxes that put the already generous coverage of his base Inhale to shame? Fire, Bubble, or Beam have you covered, to name a few. Do you want to move this persistent protection above your head? Then look no further than the Parasol. Or apply it around your entire body using Stone, Spark, Needle, the list goes on. Want that same protection without standing still? I might recommend Wheel, Ball, or Tornado, which turn you into a nearly impervious force that barrels through anything in its path. They do lock you into a pretty limited trajectory though, so good thing you've got plenty of powerful close quarters abilities that allow you to stay far more mobile, including Throw, Sword, Staff, Hammer, and even Smash Bros. And of course, there's nothing forcing you to close that gap either, with plenty of abilities like Laser, ESP, Cutter, and Archer giving you access to powerful projectiles. Or just don't even bother fighting at all and possess a minion to do your dirty work using the Ghost ability. This isn't close to a comprehensive list of even the basic powers Kirby has access to from using his Inhale, and they've only gotten stronger with time as individual attacks have given way to varied movesets, but these extend into other territory as well. Several titles have utilized the idea of mix abilities, which let Kirby combine different powers together by, say, inhaling 2 enemies at once, or combining his own copy ability with a friend or elemental effect, or both, which can create either modified versions of existing powers, or entirely new ones, and these are generally stronger than Kirby's already powerful base level attacks. Kirby also has access to limited use powers, which typically act as screen nukes, and can similarly access a number of super abilities and dangerous special power-ups, which are always appropriately deadly. Most of these abilities can't be used underwater, although this isn't universally true, and will usually get knocked out of the little guy if he takes a hit or two, but you'll typically have a pretty generous window to get it back. Or just don't sweat it and grab the next one you see. It's probably pretty good too. In Kirby Air Ride, Inhale behaves about as you'd expect, allowing you to spit out generic enemies with a homing attack, or temporarily steal a copy ability if possible. These behave similarly to the platformer titles, and while they're less devastating than, say, Mario Kart power-ups if life bars are turned off, they're brutally punishing if this option is enabled. Air Ride allows you to permanently eliminate opponents from the race, and between Sword's automatic slices, Plasma's massive homing electricity blasts, and Mike's instant, all-encompassing shockwave, to name a few, these can be genuinely nasty. So, yes, to nobody's surprise, Inhale is extremely effective at dealing with Kirby's traditional enemies. But what happens when we pluck him out of that world and drop him into Super Smash Bros., where his enemies are pretty much all powerful protagonists or antagonists in their own right? Here, Inhale acts as a command grab, meaning that it goes through shields, which pretty much always ends up seeing use in a character's kit. It's not the fastest or safest among the roster, and the hitbox is smaller than it really should be, but it is persistent, and works on both opponents and, in the newest Smash title, many projectiles, where it can both provide a small amount of healing and spit larger attacks back at his opponent, with the caveats that it needs to be done from a distance because of the lag, and it doesn't play nice with explosives. Once inhaled, Kirby has the option of either spitting his opponent out or taking their neutral special for himself. The spit option lacks the range of his home series since opponents can mash out of it, and its damage output is modest, but it still puts Kirby in an excellent positional advantage, and in some matchups this will be your go-to option. In many others though, you'll definitely want to steal your opponent's ability, as neutral specials are often powerful moves that have central roles in a character's playstyle. Many characters notably have strong projectiles in this slot, but we're also talking all-encompassing shields, projectile deniers, close quarters powerhouses, two-framing tools, alternate lethal command grabs. It's all out there for Kirby to snag, made even more appealing in Ultimate, where Kirby gets a 20% damage boost on the majority of his copy abilities. Many of these abilities also offer Kirby additional combo routes, which will be covered in more detail in the Synergy section, but for now just know that they're very useful to have. And of course, there's no way I can talk about Kirby in Smash without bringing up the little brother strategy, or inhaling your opponent off stage and dragging them to their doom, dubbed the Kirby side among fans. This has become somewhat less effective over time as recoveries have gotten stronger and ledges became less abusable, but it's always there, and especially in the earlier games could be extremely annoying to try and get around for a lot of characters. Kirby's Inhale is about as powerful as you could ever hope for in his home series, and while not quite this strong in Super Smash Bros., being a slightly risky attack that doesn't always grant you an amazing power-up, it's still at worst a persistent command grab, and at best gives you access to some of the strongest moves in the game. For power, Inhale receives a score of 4.5 out of 5. The utility of Kirby's Inhale action itself is respectable but unextraordinary, allowing him to participate in a few environmental interactions. When it comes to copy abilities, though, the possibilities explode. The range of mobility and interactivity options presented to Kirby are staggering, including but not even close to limited to digging through the ground, breaking metal blocks, boosting speed, numerous ways to augment his aerial mobility, generating food, lighting the environment, traveling across water, freezing water, radically improved jumping abilities, shrinking down to enter previously inaccessible areas, teleporting, chopping down grass, wall clinging, and lighting fuses. If you can think of a way for Kirby to interact with a level, there's probably been a copy ability at some point that lets him do it. In Super Smash Bros., Inhale itself has essentially no utility value, but not literally none, as it can be B-reversed and wave-bounced, techniques that alter your aerial momentum. Although Inhale is not the ideal candidate thanks to the lag the move suffers, as well as Kirby's poor air mobility, meaning that Kirby's trajectory isn't going to be altered as dramatically as more nimble fighters. Things pick up a bit more when we look at Kirby's copy abilities. Shulk's Monado Arts can provide improved air and ground mobility, and numerous abilities allow Kirby to further alter his aerial momentum, which can be a valuable asset in everything from recovering to edge guarding. Some of the more notable examples include Joker's Gun, Jigglypuff's Rollout, Meta Knight's Mock Tornado, Mewtwo's Shadow Ball, Marth and Lucina's Shield Breaker, and Greninja's Water Shuriken, which I didn't originally have in the script, but as it turns out, essentially grants you another jump. And naturally, while I tend to focus more on the competitive side of Smash for these videos, both the copy abilities and exhaled opponents can interact with various stage elements, which are valid considerations. Once again, the utility value offered by Kirby's Inhale in his base series is outstanding. And while somewhat slim pickings in the Super Smash Bros. Series do bring it down a little bit, Inhale still achieves a utility score of 4 out of 5. Kirby has a very expansive list of powers, however, this is almost entirely granted to him through the copy abilities he gains from Inhale. Outside of this, the character's moveset is actually fairly basic. That's not to say there's nothing to work with, though. At the most fundamental level, Kirby's other primary power is the ability to float, which he can use to get into an advantageous position for abilities that, say, drop him downwards. Kirby can also enlist the help of animal friends in a few titles, some of which expand the situations Inhale can be used in, such as when flying or underwater, and they also alter his existing powers. Kirby sometimes has access to helpers, such as in Kirby Superstar, where they can be summoned by sacrificing his current copy ability. If these helpers are other Kirbys, they can gang up to move larger items than normally possible. And if it's Gooey, Kirby can inhale him, either for an impromptu projectile, or as a sacrifice to boost his own health meter. Kirby has also been known to inhale his other friends and sacrifice them to steal their ability. Man, there's a lot of living sacrifices in this series. Or on the less sinister side, use them as a projectile where they do survive, and in addition to using them to boost his own powers as described earlier, he can also use his powers to boost them. Kirby Squeak Squad also introduced the concept of ability scrolls, which greatly power up the current copy ability Kirby is using. And the same can be said for Planet Robobot and its giant mechs. Kirby in Air Ride likewise has a very basic moveset. It is played with one button after all, although he can perform a quick spin, which some copy abilities positively modify. Not a bad showing for the Kirby series by any means, but this is the category where Super Smash Bros. Really steps up and pulls its weight. Kirby's biggest weaknesses are his poor mobility and range, making him somewhat susceptible to being camped. However, a lot of characters that can engage in this strategy will have projectiles in their neutral special slots, meaning that if Kirby can steal it, he has a much better chance at being able to force interactions, especially since his multiple jumps, small body, and low crouch frequently make him harder to hit than his opponent. Synergistic elements from his copy abilities can get far more blatant than this, though, since Kirby is a brawler character with a lot of strong combo starters. The moves he can follow up with naturally are already respectable, but when he starts stealing abilities, that's when things get really nasty. Try up tilt into Darkest Lariat for a clean 30% combo. Use down tilt to trip them into a giant punch. Drag your opponent across the stage with Speed Monado. Up air into Tree. Back throw into Dragon. And that's to say nothing of the new combo starters Kirby gains access to as well. Take a look at, say, Needles to forward smash, Mega Vitamin to back air, Breagle Blaster to neutral air, Paralyzer to up smash, Gale Strike to final cutter. And hey, with a bit of creativity, a lot of the time you can combine these even further. Most of this combo game applies to after Kirby lands the Inhale, although he also does have a few pretty solid confirms into the move itself, which can definitely help his gameplay. To top it all off, if Kirby gets a shield break, which several of the copy abilities can accomplish fairly practically, his hammer is one of the strongest punishes in the entire game. While again, not every single copy ability can be said to have significant synergy with Kirby's base moveset, the vast majority of them can. And combined with a moderate showing from Kirby's home series, Inhale receives a synergy score of 4 out of 5. In both the Kirby series and Smash, Inhale has consistently been a very stylish ability, with a massive array of different powers all represented with detailed, high-quality animations and particle effects, both in 2D and 3D. Sometimes these effects will even change color with the cosmetic spray paint Kirby is wearing, a completely unnecessary but much appreciated touch. In addition to feeling powerful and entertaining, many of Kirby's copy abilities are also genuinely funny. See Sleep existing almost solely as a joke, or Backdrop allowing you to pick up one enemy and use it to dive bomb another. From Kirby Superstar onwards, he also began donning stylish hats to accompany his copy abilities. No small feat to develop, particularly in Super Smash Bros., but greatly contributing to the enjoyment of using Inhale. Sound design wise, things are also very strong. Similar to Link from the last episode of this series, Kirby is largely a silent protagonist, but that has had no impact at all on the voice actress's ability to sell the Pink Puffball's performance. In fact, hearing upbeat squeaks from the little guy as he murders everything on screen never gets tiring. The wide array of roles he plays thanks to his copy abilities also means that there's a good amount of variety in his voice even within these limitations, with my personal favorite being his Rob copy from the Super Smash Bros. Series. Perfect. Also, this exists. No, I didn't edit that clip. In typical Nintendo first-party fashion, the rest of the sound design is fantastic as well, whether we're talking about the act of inhaling itself, or the combat sounds of a copy ability. Throw in numerous charming homages to everything from Indiana Jones to other Nintendo characters, and for style, Inhale receives 5 out of 5. Kirby games are intended to be relatively easy, this is common knowledge, but while playing through these titles to create this video, I was actually a bit surprised by how demanding some of the enemy and stage layouts were, particularly in the earlier titles. Now, I'm not saying they were incredibly challenging, far from it, but having gone a while without playing a Kirby title, the overall level design wasn't nearly as forgiving as I was expecting it to be. Many of these titles don't make the game especially easy by letting you waltz from one side of the map to the other. They do it by making Kirby overpowered, largely through Inhale. I consider this to be a dramatically better approach to designing a beginner-friendly platforming series, as it still makes the game inviting to inexperienced players while giving them a sense of empowerment, letting them efficiently tackle obstacles rather than not including obstacles to begin with. And you're free to tackle these obstacles in a lot of different ways, extending even to the majority of boss fights, where you're given a default option to defeat them with exhaled stars, but are also usually free to use the copy ability of your choice, provided you can smuggle it into the arena. The myriad of different abilities Kirby can acquire also creates strong extrinsic motivation to continue exploring the world in a very natural way, seamlessly and intuitively tying both cosmetic and interactive rewards into the core of the gameplay loop. While the thrill of discovery is certainly cool on a first playthrough though, the use of copy abilities also greatly improves the replay value of each title, making it easy to experience the same level in a different way, especially valuable considering that sometimes you will need to revisit the same level several times even in a single playthrough. The only times this sense of freedom will be taken away are generally for specific bosses, or for environmental puzzles which require or at least strongly encourage a particular ability to capture a specific reward, striking an excellent balance between player choice and the requirement to occasionally mix up your strategy, at least for optimal play, since you'll still typically be able to get through any level with any ability. Frankly, the biggest design issue I can find with Inhale and Kirby's own titles would be the bomb and air ride. Look how much of the screen this takes up, it's obscene. Otherwise though, the game flows surprisingly well despite Inhale and Drifting sharing the same button, a natural extension of the creator's desire to simplify existing game genres for wider audiences. These principles are carried wholeheartedly into the Smash titles, fitting considering the same man developed both series, where Kirby is unabashedly the beginner character of choice. See everything from his intuitive attacks to forgiving recovery to being available right from the first level in Smash's story modes. In that case, what better way to introduce players to the concept of Super Smash Bros. Than by giving them a character who's not only simple to play, but also can provide a taste of every single character's moveset, all while being incredibly charming and instantly capturing your attention. As soon as you've donned your first hat, of course you need to see the rest. Now, competitively minded players might take a few issues with Inhale. Like we've discussed, its hitbox is smaller than the animation, it's committal to throw out, the lag after inhaling a projectile is excessive, and while these are all valid criticisms, they're also minuscule in the grand scheme of Inhale's design. While a more competitively viable Inhale would be nice, I think the role it plays in the series for the larger player base is incredibly more important, to the degree that I think Inhale is the single most important move in Smash history. So, we need to ask a question here. What does a 5 mean for a category in this series? Does it mean the signature move is flawless and can't be further improved? I don't think so. To me, and my personal preference as all this tier list indicates anyways, it means that the move has reached a threshold where the problems with it pale in comparison to its underlying strengths. In the Kirby series, I think this threshold has been greatly exceeded, with a few competitive gripes in Smash, not enough to pull it back. For design, Kirby's Inhale receives 5 out of 5. The points are in, and now it's time to apply our weightings and generate the final score. Power, utility, synergy, style, design. Remember that scores can only dictate a placement into A tier. Any ascension beyond that comes from gut instinct. Kirby's Inhale is not flawless or above criticism. However, it's so powerful, so charming, has been meticulously implemented with so much care and hard work behind it that if this move didn't meet the criteria for S tier, I'd question if anything could. It allows for endless complexity and imagination to be introduced to his titles while keeping the character himself as simple as you can get. A truly brilliant concept, with even stronger execution. Thanks for watching, everyone, and hey, if you liked it, why not leave a like? Let me know your thoughts on Kirby's Inhale, subscribe and hit the bell for more videos like this, and follow me on Twitter at Mr. MockRock to see what I'm up to. As a reminder, future episodes can be voted on by all patrons, YouTube members, and Twitch subscribers. Yeah, I stream now under MockRock Twitch, it's been a lot of fun so far. And you can also get a lot of other cool perks like Discord access and early videos. Later, people! Today's contender is one of the longest standing signature moves in the entire medium, Link's Spin Attack. An all-encompassing sword slash first appearing in 1991's The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. If you've played Super Smash Bros. In any capacity, the odds are that you've had your strongest move sent right back at you with a counter at some point.